Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Big Donch Show. Today, I'm joined by Trevor Kotara, who's currently a professional heavyweight boxer. So thank you, Trevor, for joining me today, especially on such a short notice. You have a big fight coming up, March 16th. Just tell me a little bit about that fight. Where is it at, who you're facing, and just how you're feeling.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on here. Yeah, I'm super stoked. Fighting out here in Phoenix, Arizona at Celebrity Theater, March 16th. It is with Del Sol Boxing. So, pretty big boxing promotions out here in Arizona. Seems like Arizona boxing's been doing a lot to really propel their fighters forward and give us a lot of opportunities to kind of reach that big stage. Um, I just got a little bit of information on the guy I'm fighting. His name is Angel Ochoa, another heavyweight fighter. Pretty good in the amateurs. Don't know much about him in the pro levels yet, but we're gonna find out on the 16th. So
Awesome. So how you feeling? How's training been? How's camp been? How you feeling?
you know what? I feel good. I've been pretty busy lately with me and my wife just moved to a new house. There's been a lot of changes on the personal side, but I think it's propelled me more to really work hard towards this specific goal of focusing myself on camp and making sure I'm putting in the work everywhere and every time that I can. So I feel great.
Good to hear. So, what are some things going into this fight now compared to fights previous that you're working on? Is there anything that you want to work on conditioning more? You're working on more on a specific punch, anything specific? I mean, obviously, you don't
Yeah,
want to give away
you
too much, but
yeah, I can't be divulging all the secrets,
right.
but no, for me it's I've gone up in weight, which is kind of surprising. I've not changed anything as far as like the training regimen goes. I'm still doing, all of my conditioning, my cardio. But I don't know if it's like you hit the mid 30s and your weight starts to go up a little bit. But I originally started at 235 and now I'm walking around at 250. So it's different because my mindset, I didn't realize how big I had gotten. But no, I really want to work more on the conditioning and the cardio. I like being able to dictate how the fight pace is going to go. And you can only do so much with size. And obviously, the more conditioning, the more speed that you have, you can really work all different types of avenues. So for me, it's really just continuing to work on that, working on that endurance and conditioning and just being the best that I can be.
So, what's like a regular day in camp for you like? What do you do? Like, are you boxing full time? Do you have a job? What is your average day like for training for a fight?
I, I do. So I work for a pool company called Above All Pool Care now in Arizona. So my days have actually gotten a little bit easier for me to train. Before I was working full time at a restaurant and it would be working out at like 11 o'clock at night. Sometimes I'd wake up at 6 in the morning and it was such odd hours that it made it so difficult for me to be consistent. Whereas now I have a lot more consistency. And once I'm done with work, I hit the gym. I'm doing road work. I try to get in every other day. I'm either doing sparring, I'm doing mitt work, I'm doing bag work with the coach. He's finding little tricks and little tips here to improve on my defense, improve on my blocking, improve on striking, stuff like that. So it's nice to have consistency again and really focus and hone in on what needs to be done.
Good. So I see you have a squat rack behind you. As a heavyweight, they usually lift more weights compared to a lighter boxer.
Yeah.
How does implementing weights in boxing do you think that for anybody watching, would you advise people to lift weights no matter the weight division? What's your experience with weightlifting and boxing?
You know, at first when I was young, I was always told weights damage you. They slow you down. You don't want to be too bulky. And while I think that holds some truth to it, um, you have to have a little bit of it. I always attribute boxing to rock, paper, scissors. And it's something that just stuck with me since I was like 19. One of my first boxing coaches said, everything is like rock, paper, scissors. If you got a guy who's bigger than you, more power, your speed. Speed beats power. If somebody's quicker than you beat him with timing. So I've always used that as like that rock paper scissors analogy. And you could be big and you could use all the weights that you want, but if you don't have speed to back it up, you're kind of screwed. And then you also have to have the timing and the conditioning. So for me, I like it. Obviously, being a heavyweight, you got to be able to throw. I mean, you could run around the ring all day and try and score points, but if you can't land those big shots to try and get them out of there, you're making it harder on yourself, I think. So
So tell me a little bit about your journey. So you said you're in your mid 30s now. You're turning professional. You're still pretty early in your career. Why why turn pro later on in your career? What was your journey like? When did you start boxing? Why did you get into boxing? Why did you turn pro? All that good stuff.
So it's actually interesting. So I played football in college, or sorry, football in high school, and I didn't have the mindset as much as like an athlete when I was younger. It was more so, hey, I'm doing this for fun. Oh, I don't really see, the benefit, blah blah blah. But once I graduated high school, it was like, man, I missed out. I feel like on a lot of opportunity to really get a head start. So, boxing gym called Iron Gloves Boxing in Tempe, Arizona, just happened to pop up in one of my Google searches. And I was like, I'm going to give it a check. So when I went down there and met with them, they were just the most welcoming people ever. They made me feel so comfortable with where I was at a skill level. And I started competing as an amateur. And from then on, I kind of was just like, oh, this could be something cool that could, maybe lead to something. And I did compete amateur for, on and off about 10 years. And I never was really sure if I was going to reach to the pro level. When you're at that stage and you kind of feel like you're a little too old for it, I was like, nah. But I have three kids. I have a full family. I got two stepchildren as well. And it's one of those things where it's like, man, I don't want to live with regrets. And I'm trying to teach my kids, hey, while you're young, you got to go for it. The
Right.
worst you're going to hear is no. So, what kind of example am I setting if I'm going to sit here and say, hey, I'm not too old to do this. Let's give it a shot. So, it was around COVID, right when COVID started. I was actually supposed to fight March of 2020. And it was my first professional fight. It was supposed to be at Celebrity Theater, and COVID shut everything down. So I was super bummed because I finally took that step forward and I was like, man, I'm going to make it. And luck would have it, COVID shut it all down. So I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have another chance. Luckily, a promotion company out here called Thunderbolt Boxing actually allowed me to uh, jump on one of their cards after everything had reopened. So I was like, man, this is the second chance that I needed right here, and I've loved it ever since. My kids are like the biggest push. My wife is super supportive of it. She's there ringside every single fight. It's nice. Like I do it for my kids, I do it for myself, but it's just you only get one life, and I think that it's important to especially show your kids and like the younger generation up coming up. I coach football for young kids at my son's age. I think it's important for kids to be involved in sports and see, hey, look, I started late. It doesn't have to be over,
Right.
but because you're young, let's get you a head start.
Good. That's a good point. I mean, you're basically creating, your own life that you want to live, right? You know what I mean? You're gonna
Exactly.
guide through exactly. I like that motive too. That's the type of thing I love to just do everything you could possible. Because it is possible though. Every now in 2024, the options are endless now. But I mean, we're seeing a lot more pros turn pro later, things like that.
Yep.
So it's definitely a lot more possible now, especially with all this health science and nutrition nowadays. It's definitely
It's
possible to go
crazy.
after
There
it.
is. There's so much that you can, it doesn't have to be over. Everyone, we're coached in our mind to think, oh, you're in your 30s, you haven't gone to college yet. You haven't secured a full-time career. And it's like, oh man, maybe I'm behind. And you're not. Like I turned 30 and I was like, man, maybe I'm behind the game. And then you realize, no, I still have a whole life to live. And, maybe the body starts to slow down as you get a little older, but you know what? I think it's all mindset. And, if athletes like, Tom Brady, Floyd Mayweather, Aaron Rodgers, all those guys can prove, hey, we're in our 40s and we can still compete at this high level. Why shouldn't we? It's all about mindset. And I think it's just all about drive. So
Well, look at George Foreman. I mean, he's my one of my favorite heavyweights of all time. He came back after a 10-year hiatus,
yeah,
48, 46 or whatever years old, won a world championship. So, George
exactly.
Foreman, George
Yeah. I
Foreman's a
mean,
big guy I look up to also.
yeah, I mean, a beast of a man, and that just goes to show you improve it. Like, yeah, he had a good start when he was younger, but you could fall off. I mean, you could be you take a 10-year hiatus, be like, oh, well, he was a pro back in the day, he might do well, and then he doesn't. But then you got Foreman who was able to. So, it's drive, it's mindset, and I think it's important again, just for people to see that. I think everyone's so hung up on, oh, you're getting too old for this, and for me, it's like it started off as a hobby, and this hobby has now turned into a part-time job. I work a full-time job, but I get to work out and get paid for it. That's the way I look at it. And I also get to show, my kids, my family, friends, like, hey, this was my dream, and it still is, and I'm still trying to achieve it. So
Good. I'm glad to hear. So you mentioned that you were into football. I'm a big football fan myself. I coached you football this past year. I'm mainly a high school referee. So I really like
Nice.
refereeing. I'm
I
trying
like
to
that.
I'm trying to take refereeing as far as I could go. I'm trying to, coach hopefully D1, maybe the NFL if that's the case too. I'm also
Bro,
an
we need
amateur
some good refs
boxer.
in the
Yeah, I
NFL,
know.
man. We need some
It's
good
hard.
refs.
Listen, though, I mean, I used to bash refs, but once you become a ref, dude, I'm telling you, it's a different mindset. It's a different mindset.
Oh yeah.
So it's hard sometimes, though, fans and all, but you get used to it. It's refereeing is good, coaching's good too. I enjoy both of it, but like I said, like you said, we need good refs, so that's why I'm taking the ref route. But
There you go,
anyway,
man.
we follow each other on Instagram too. I noticed that you comment sometimes on NFL posts, So my question was to you, just what's your thoughts on the Super Bowl this past Super Bowl?
I was actually I was worried because when it came to I always hear about the narrative, right? You always hear about the narrative. You hear about, oh, the system's rigged.
Yeah,
Whether or not it's true or not, I don't know. I mean, it could be, it could not be. The way I look at it was I wanted a clean game. I was a big fan of Mahomes and Kelsey early on, but it has seemed of late. I'm a sportsman type guy. So for me, when I saw like kind of the bad attitude, the body language, especially when the Bills had played the Chiefs on, I believe it was the Sunday night, and Mahomes just was like, it was almost like crybaby. Oh, my guy was offsides. We broke a rule, but we shouldn't get penalized for it. I was kind of like, man, I don't like losing respect for guys who you should look up to. So when it came down to the Super Bowl, I live in Arizona. Brock Purdy is a Chandler native out here, so it was really cool to pull for somebody who lived right down the road. I still actually do work in the restaurant service. I work a couple nights a week at a place called Brass Tap, and his parents actually came in, and I got to meet them and meet a couple of his teachers who were cheering for him in one of the playoff games. But it was just it was an interesting game, and I was happy that the referees didn't have a lot to do with the outcome of the game. It was clean all the way through. I think both sides played tremendously. Um, Everybody's going to say, "Oh, I should have done this or I could have done that." Shoulda, coulda, woulda. That's sports. That's what happens, man. And I like to see that both teams put it all on the line to try and win. And Kansas City played an incredible game, and hats off to them.
I know when you give Mahomes the ball, never doubt Mahomes. They were in a struggle in the regular season. Everybody was counting them out,
Yep.
saying the downfall. You never doubt Mahomes. I mean, I was rooting for the Niners because I'm obviously just sick of the Chiefs winning. I want to see Brock Purdy, the underdog, 6 round, 7 round pick, Mr. Relevant, get
Yep.
after it. Christian McCaffrey get his first ring. But
Oh, I was so hoping for him, man.
right.
So pulling for him.
But never doubt Christian McCaffrey. No, never doubt Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelsey. As long
You
as those
really,
three are playing, never doubt them
yep,
out.
you really can't. I mean, it's like watching Brady back when you give the ball. And I mean, I'm a huge Packers fan. So I've been an Aaron Rodgers fan since day one. And it was kind of just, common sense. Don't give Aaron Rodgers any time because he will find a way, even with 0 seconds on the clock. So it's one of those people you just, man, you give him 30 seconds, he's going to find a way. And he did.
So getting back to boxing now, just one last question. I asked this to everybody when I interviewed them, is just what would you like to get out of the sport of boxing? I know we touched a bit about it earlier. Everybody likes to say, they want a belt, they want to be champion and all, but like what's actually specific deep down, what when it's all said and done, obviously you were mentioning some regrets, but anything else that you really, want to look back and say, I'm happy I did that when boxing's all said and done.
The one thing I like to say is everybody says, "Oh, you want to be a champ one day. You want to be." Obviously, yes, big term goal. Who doesn't want to be champion? Realistically, my goal set out to this was I would love to fight in Las Vegas. That was always my dream. I want to fight in Las Vegas, and I just want that glitz and glamour of like what I saw growing up as a kid. And I actually got that opportunity. I actually fought against Antonio Zepeda. He's fights under Floyd Mayweather's team. Good heavyweight. It was actually my first 6 round fight. Um, and it was such an experience to like be able to meet legends. I met Muhammad Ali's grandson. I met Roy Jones Jr., who I grew up like idolizing.
Yeah.
So it was so neat because it was like, holy crap, I'm in Vegas. My wife drove. We drove out there together. I had a couple of friends and family, and I had, my dad who lives in Florida watched it, bought the pay per view. My family in Chicago. So to me, it was like, wow, I made it. Unfortunately, I didn't end up winning that fight, but in my mind, I was like, okay, I have a new goal. Now I fought in Vegas. Now I know. Now I want to win in Vegas. So I think I'm taking it step by step. But honestly, I pride myself in the fact that I don't turn down fights. It doesn't matter if they're 9-0. It doesn't matter if they're hey, this guy's 9-0, 9 knockouts. Cool, let's do it. If it makes sense, let's do it. And even as an amateur, it didn't matter who it was. It didn't matter how short notice. I've always prided myself in, again, you only get one life, and too many guys nowadays are afraid to take that leap and take that L. And you know what? That's how you learn. I
It's the
think the
social
most
media
exciting
era.
fights, yeah, it is. I mean, if everyone wants to say, "Oh, I was undefeated," well, I'd love to be undefeated too. But you know what? I'd like also to say, "Hey, you fought the biggest dude, the baddest dude." I tried taking a fight in California last month against his name was Jack May. And actually, he was, I think, 8-0 or 9-0, 6'8", some just gigantic dude. And I'm like, sure, let's do it. Like, I'm only going to get experience through guys who are better than me, and that's just the way I like to work. So
Yeah, that's
I
why
think
I
that's what I'd
respect.
like to achieve.
That's why I respect guys like Ryan Garcia, big guy, big superstar, I should say. He doesn't duck anybody. He wants to get after it. Lost is zero, but he still keeps going after it. Yet,
Yeah,
we don't see that a lot with superstars. So, I'm glad to see that you have that mindset. The whole time though, with everything, no regrets, everything like that. So, I really wish you
yep,
the best of luck. In your next fight, though, go get after it, and yeah, I'll
I
be cheering for
appreciate it.
you. Yeah, I appreciate everybody watching. Make sure to check out Trevor Kotara's career. I'll check out his Instagram. I'll post everything on Instagram. I'll have this video uploaded and everything. Yeah, guys, I'm out. Peace.